Relationships are the core of society. An average human may obtain hundreds of different types of relationships in their lifetime. Not all relationships are equal. Some are familial, some are friendly, others romantic, or even, in some cases, a rivalry. Whether or not you have all these types or just some, the point is you cannot escape relationships with other humans. It's human nature. That being said, there's a different type of relationship that's been around for hundreds of years, but is only recently starting to gain more and more exposure and understanding. And that's a parasocial relationship.
It's my fault because I didn't know that we were going to play this. All right,
For too many of us. To project, to retreat into our own bubble.
A parasocial relationship, or PSR as it will be referred to here on out, is defined as a relationship involving or relating to a connection between a person and someone that they do not know personally. Now, the first thing that may come to your head is that it's someone like a YouTuber, or a streamer, or maybe even a movie celebrity. But what most people don't know is that PSRs have existed for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
My name is Dr. Rebecca Tukachinsky-Forster. I'm an associate professor of communication at the School of Communication at Chapman University. I'm studying, among other things, parasocial relationships because they are so pervasive and so interesting to me to see how we can relate to others we don't know personally and have those very strong emotions and feelings, and how we can be influenced ultimately by people we never met in person and probably never will. My personal academic journey was more of, I started with my interest in other processes related to fictional characters, more so than celebrities. I was always a person who loves movies and books and good stories. Why do I care so much about those fictional lives that don't exist, those pixels on the screen? I try to trace back in history, where did that phenomenon start? And the first example that I'm bringing that I could find dates back to ancient Rome. Some guy was writing a satire, kind of poking fun at women who have celebrity crushes back in the Roman Empire. So at the time, the celebrities of the time were rhetoricians, but that's what you had celebrity crushes back then, and this is a form of parasocial relationships.
Dr. Rebecca's research has concluded that parasocial relationships exist in just as many, if not more, forms of social relationships. Because of the internet, specifically social media, the opportunity to create parasocial bonds with an individual has only grown drastically. In fact, the ability to bid for interactions with influencers online through chat logs and comments have made entire communities around these people. We will be exploring the interactions between both the audience members and the content creators of these parasocial relationships.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Joe. This is the Joe is Hungry channel, delivered directly to you by the car hop of your choice right here within the city limits of Fairmount, Georgia. Before we go any further, I would like to extend a very special heartfelt shout out to Twitch streamer and YouTuber Will Neff. I would have never thought anybody would count the cuts in my bite test. Shout out to Andy and your son James. I really like the hoodie. Happy birthday to Macy's own Andrew and Brinley. And yes, I am talking to you. Ryan Carter, Mike, Reese, and Ariana, Branson, Gabe, Loth, Grant, and Cadence, Logan, Tyler, Pat, and Teresa, Thea, Chris, Larry, and Oliver. I want to wish a very special Joe's Hungry birthday shout out to each and every one of you. Has Sonic just run out of imagination and came up with another goofy marketing ploy, or is this the next best thing since sliced bread? So let's find out and roll the drive-through ad. Sonic in Adairsville, Georgia. Could I get 3 peanut butter bacon cheeseburgers? So now it's time to peel back the layers, fire up the scales, sharpen the knives, head back to the studios, and My name is Joe Desavedra. I have a YouTube channel called Joe's Hungry where I do fast food reviews. I believe parasocial means where you have relationships with people that are not really social, but they are, where you actually really don't actually physically know them, but you interact with them. I also watch a lot of other YouTube channels, and the same thing happens to me. But as a detriment, as it's become more widespread, I don't think so. I think it's actually a plus where people all over the world can communicate with each other in real time, and I think that helps a lot, as far as different cultures understanding each other.
There is this kind of scare about, stalking and, like those kind of things. Like this is like parasocial relationships that went wrong, and too much parasocial relationships are bad for you. And that's also not true. Like there are people who have mental health issues and they cannot maintain, the boundaries between reality and their imagination and other things. So those are people who have legitimate mental health concerns, and they can manifest in different ways. And one way in which they can manifest, one context in which they can manifest those issues would be, their preoccupation with celebrities. It's not that the parasocial relationship went wrong, it's something was, that person had an issue, and it happened to be that this is the area in which they manifested. Choose your friends wisely. That's good advice in any, realm, in real life and in fiction. You are influenced by the people you are surrounded by, right? So pick someone who will be a good influence on you, someone who will motivate you to do the good things, someone who will inspire you in positive ways. That would be my biggest piece of advice.
The famous live streamer Ice Poseidon just scammed his followers for up to $500,000.
I think influencer is just a disgusting word.
Influencers are on a roll this week with ripping people off.
It's not too uncommon these days to hear stories of YouTubers perpetrating scams and participating in fraud.
Tonight, the flashy and lavish lifestyle of a social media influencer helping to put her behind bars. Danielle Miller pleading guilty to a $1.5 million fraud scheme.
I'm currently working with a colleague. We're looking at negative parasocial relationships, because a lot of the parasocial relationship came out of like, oh, we are like friends with the characters, but what about the negative ones? Like you mentioned, the jealousy and the rivalry, but there are other ones, like when you are disagreeing or you are hating someone, all this like celebrity bashing, like all of that stuff. Clarify to yourself what your values are. That's why oftentimes we see those cancel culture waves of hurted, when people spend so much time and so much effort to bash a celebrity or go against a celebrity, because it's your way to validate yourself and make sense of your own values.
I had one troll that followed me. He followed me for like all 4 years. You put him in his little thing where he can't leave comments, and occasionally I'd let him back out, and because he never really threatened me or anything like that, and he would always say something nasty. I don't mind the trolls. If they're going to say something nasty and it's funny, it doesn't bother me. I don't care. I don't get mad. You'll see some of YouTubers get really, really aggravated over people making negative comments. No, man, if it's funny, it's funny. The funniest one that I had was a guy that offered my wife a divorce attorney. And I fell out of my chair. That was funny. But then he got nasty, and because I thought it was funny, I just quipped him back, went back and forth 4 or 5 times. Then he got ugly, and then I had to cut him off.
It is risky for them to take a stance, because they will, by definition, alienate someone. But that's also how they can use their celebrity currency to make a difference and change people's opinions. If someone really likes a celebrity, like has a very strong relationship with them, it is painful to cut ties with them. And we do that sometimes over politics. Like in 2016, there were a lot of people who lost good friends or families that got torn apart over politics. So we will do that with a celebrity or an influencer as well, but it's not as a first resort. You can see from a lot of examples of celebrities that did awful things, and they would still have some hardcore fans that would continue to believe that they are innocent, or that would try to justify and minimize the offense to just stay loyal to them, because those media-based parasocial relationships are so psychologically important that it's really painful and damaging to cut those parasocial ties. So people will go to a great length to try to avoid doing that if they can help it. So a lot of times, if a celebrity you disagree with is making a statement, you might try to, as a first resort, try to minimize the importance of this issue and say like, okay, we don't have to agree on it, like I don't care, like this is not a big issue, and kind of try to overlook it. But at some point it does become a deal breaker, and it is painful and to the media user to have to take a stance against the celebrity that they love.
My name is Gabby. I am an archivist at Rose Library at Emory University. My favorite celebrity is Taylor Swift. So fans of Taylor Swift are called Swifties. It's a way to identify ourselves, you know. I first found Taylor Swift, if you could call it that, when I was probably 9 or 10 years old with her first ever single, Tim McGraw. I can vividly remember seeing the music video for it on CMT, Country Music Television, and I've been a fan ever since, and that's 17, 18 years now, so most of my life I've been a fan of Taylor Swift. I think that definitely fandoms can go too far in any fandom, but especially Swifties. I mean, there are videos where Taylor Swift will go places and fans just like swarm her. Like there was one example where it was at someone else's wedding and it like overran the wedding, the fans. So I think it can go too far in that respect. I do feel like I've like grown up with Taylor Swift, being that I found her so young. I can remember every stage of my life corresponding with an era of hers. And so like for example, I remember like when I got the Fearless CD for Christmas, and when I was a freshman in college and 1989 came out, and buying the CD from Target and listening to it on repeat, and you know, the pandemic with Evermore and Folklore, like each album and each era of her music, I really think about it when I think about stages in my life. In my understanding, a parasocial relationship is when you don't actually know the person, but you feel like you do, or you feel invested in their lives, and like their happiness makes you happy, or vice versa. If things are going wrong, you feel for that person. I think I do at this point have a parasocial relationship with Taylor Swift, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think her music and career has brought me a lot of joy in my life since I was 9 or 10 years old, and it's brought me a lot of friends and positive experiences throughout the years.
While researching parasocial relationships, I quickly realized that there is a deep divide in the understanding of them in society. We have people who defend and invest continuously into their favorite celebrities and online personalities, and we have people that think parasocial relationships are unhealthy and are used as a replacement for actual in-person relationships. To broaden my findings, I decided that the best way to obtain my own understanding would be to interview people on the street about their opinions on parasocial relationships and if they have any themselves.
Roughly about 2, maybe 3 hours, depending on like YouTube and Instagram together.
Probably 3 to 4 a day.
The real number is like a lot, you know, whenever I have downtime or if I'm not doing nothing important for real.
I say like about 3, maybe 5 sometimes. Depends on like if I'm doing a lot.
Ooh, more than probably 8 hours.
8 hours. I would say about maybe 5 or 6.
Like 5, 6.
For a whole day, maybe like 2-3 hours at most.
I ain't gonna lie, I spend a lot. I say at least 6 hours because I actually run blog pages.
Like 2.
Maybe like 4 or 5.
Lucci TV, you have True Villain and King Scrappy.
No, not at all.
It's more of like YouTubers. Like there's one called Sarang Ho, Julia Ma, like those kind of videos, like vlogs.
I like Aurora. She's my favorite. As well as some Japanese artists like Lamp and Ichiko Aoba.
Yeah, no, it was just mainly like those documentary YouTubers, you know, the ones that would like talk about drama and things like that. I can't remember one of them. Only person I really remember off the top of my head that I used to watch would be like Nicole Raffi, things like that.
I don't have like anyone specific at the top of my head, but like I watch like a lot of like makeup videos like on YouTube. Not really specifically, no.
So for the streamers, it would be Typical Gamer. I watch him a lot. I've been watching him for like 8 years. And then athletes, I watch an athlete called J Football who does POVs of him playing soccer.
Queso and Moist Critical. I watch like pretty much all of AMP, like their individual content.
Y'all all bad. Y'all all pretty.
Well, keep up the great work. You're doing a fantastic job with the content, and just keep it up and yeah, keep it going.
I tell them that they have really made my days, and and they inspire me to continue to move forward and grow.
I would tell them like I really enjoy their videos. I enjoy watching them. They've like helped me out a lot. Like if I was feeling unmotivated or just bored.
That I really like what they're doing and what they're putting out there, and how inspirational they are to me.
Honestly, I would just tell them, to keep going because obviously they're making somebody's day happy, and that they're doing a good job. That's pretty much it. I don't think it's a negative. However, I don't think that it's more so beneficial to either party. I just think that it's something that kind of happens, but I don't think it's more so of a negative or good.
I would say that I have kind of a negative connotation with them, just because, like, especially once I seen like for example the barbs and those stands, that is a whole other level of like delusion. And then when they start going into other people's lives and to personal businesses, that's insane.
That's a good question. I think it holds more of a negative connotation. I think at times it could be positive if someone is following someone else's advice and doing something good with their life. But when it comes to the point where you're like thinking that you're best friends with them or you know everything about them, that's when it becomes a problem.
To me, it sounds sort of negative because it's like having a one-sided relationship. You don't really gain much from that, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I would say pretty positively. I would say it's a good thing, mostly, yeah.
I would say positive. I don't know, I feel like it's just good to feel that way, one as itself and stuff like that. Like, even if the person doesn't really know me like that, I love to see the other the other person's side and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would also say it's like a positive thing because like one thing that I can think of at the top of my head is like when it comes to like content like creators, like of course they'll see what others are saying about them, and it's just like I think like the support that their fans give them, just inspires them to do better and like make more content and just like inspires them.
While the concept of parasocial relationships continues to be pulled in two directions, one interviewee resonated with me. He seemed to have been genuinely affected in a positive way from his parasocial relationships online, and I wanted to know why and how. So I invited him into the studio to elaborate more.
My name is Marcus Smith. I'm a student at Georgia State University, and I study computer science. I watch a specific person named Typical Gamer. I've been watching him for 8 years. He plays a lot of different games. Every day I've been watching, he streams every day, and it's really just, it makes me happy, I'm able to watch and enjoy the streams, and so I get to enjoy the games myself even though I'm not playing. Parasocial is having a one-sided relationship with someone who has no relationship with you, honestly. So like me personally, I have a relationship with streamers. Even though they have no idea who I am, I feel like I have a connection to them. Relationships are typically you meet a person and you might talk face to face with them, and a lot of people are like, okay, you have a relationship with someone who doesn't know you. It kind of seems kind of like a stalkerish type of vibe, like if you're viewing someone's page and, you really like that person, but that person has no idea who you are. So I can see why some people think of it as like, negative and weird, but I think there's a lot of benefit with it. I mean, you can find friends in the community that they have, or it's kind of like you're having a friend with someone who doesn't even really need to talk to. I mean, just watching them and be happy can help you be happy. So I don't think it's weird. So I started watching Typical Gamer on YouTube. He then got a deal with YouTube to stream on them only. And so, but then Twitch, they made it to where you can stream now on Twitch and YouTube. And so he has now streaming on Twitch and YouTube at the same time, which a lot of streamers are doing now as well. Chat is an online platform on streams to where you're able to text into a kind of like if you think of it like a group chat, and everyone can see your chat, including the streamer, and the streamer can respond to that via his own words live, or he can text in the chat as well. So you're able to talk to the community and the streamer. My experience with chat has been iffy, because if you're chatting with a streamer that has a lot of followers, like Typical Gamer, who has 14 million subscribers, it kind of feels like you're being ignored, because he can't read everything, and he doesn't read everything out loud, of course, as well. But when you're with streamers that are smaller, it feels like you're more connected to them, because they'll constantly look back at chat and they're like, oh yeah, and they respond to you, and it feels like you're talking to them like right then and there. But it's really iffy. It depends on if the streamer has a big platform or not.
Am I connected with my audience? Yeah, most of them. Every once in a while I'll get somebody that wants to be in the video. Like the first time somebody asked for my autograph, I'm like, really? I mean, I'm not worth an autograph. But that happened. I'm not doing anything different than I would with anybody else that I would talk to. I don't think so anyway. I guess you could say it comes natural. I get a lot of comments, and it takes me a while to work through them all, and some of them are basically, they're just saying really nice things about me or to me, and then I'm just saying thank you. And you have YouTube has a little thing where you can punch in thank you in these little things, and I never use those because I just think they can tell that that's fake if they do that, because you're going to get a response from me, it's going to be real. If you're going to make something, it's really not worth anything unless somebody watches it, and that's kind of how all that started. Not really to interact with the public, but I think anybody that makes videos understands that it's not about money, it's not about being famous. It's pointless to do something if nobody's even going to look at it.
So if you are a gregarious person and you like making friends, then you will also be making parasocial friends. If you are not good at making friends, if you are not a social being, then you will not relate parasocially either. And so self-esteem is generally more positively correlated with parasocial relationships, and so are things like shyness and attachment, which is like a psychological characteristic of ability to maintain relationships, or anxious attachment, which is like the people who are clingy, the people who are afraid of losing friends in real life, are also the ones that develop stronger parasocial attachments as well. Parasocial relationships are one-sided. The other person doesn't know that you even exist, but for the person who experiences the relationship, it is a real relationship. It is important to them, and losing that relationship is as painful as losing a real person in one's environment is. I have the story once when I was in grad school. I had all of a sudden someone knocks on my door. I open the door, and a fellow student stands there. She's all crying, like tears and all, like she's barely can speak because she's so full of emotions. And between sobs, she tells me that her advisor sent her to me because I'm an expert on that. And I was like, what happened? And like, how can I help you? And she says, all my children goes off the air. So like the soap opera that she was growing up with, and those characters that she remembers for years and years, she was following them in their lives, and how can she continue living without them? And she just like shattered into pieces because they're all going to be gone. For the most part, parasocial relationships for healthy people are healthy things. They can even serve healthy psychological function. We saw it, for example, during COVID with research looking at loneliness and people who were socially disconnected, and how they seek out more social ties at this time, but also they benefit more from the parasocial experiences as well. So it's a source of comfort, and it enriches you. It's not something that is detrimental necessarily.
Through researching the topic of parasocial relationships, I found the conclusion to my question of, is this healthy or unhealthy for us, resides in the perspective of the individual pursuing them. On one side, I found people who love them. They help them grow, understand things about the world, and be entertained. And on the other side, I found people who find them weird, creepy, and in some cases, viewed them as mental illnesses. For me, I think this is extremely helpful as long as you curate the relationship with moderation and understanding. The problems with parasocial relationships are also apparent in our social relationships. It's just about navigating your own understanding of them. Parasocial relationships are going to continue to gain more and more popularity. With more ways to connect to our favorite celebrities, influencers, athletes, and politicians in the future, what will you do? Will you embrace these relationships into your livelihood and consider them real? Or will you cut yourself off to the bonds of forming a parasocial relationship?